Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV Alternative Media Television. We're approaching the holiday season, of course. Expect total insanity from the groundlings. Post-Thanksgiving, Black Friday, people are already camping out on the streets in tents, having parties, hoping to get the latest Xbox or other tech gadget that places like Best Buy that are really going out of business because they really don't have a profit margin anymore. It really is insane. And we see it every year and we see it every season. But the Ponzi scheme that is America is honestly getting worse. It's getting more grotesque. It's becoming, as I ranted earlier this morning in our last video, just even more of an obvious Ponzi scheme than it is. A total non-reality with the Fed propagating a bigger bubble, an even bigger bubble than we've ever seen before. Now, I want to give you a specific example of this because there was a great article posted on Venezuela today. Now, of course, there have been countless examples of currency crisis throughout history, currency crises throughout history, whether or not this was Russia, the collapse of the USSR, and then basically the disintegration of their system, their government. Again, this shocked many Americans. They remember this in the 1990s. My father remembers this. It shocked them and shook them to the core. They grew up during the Cold War where the USSR was an actual legitimate, real threat. And then they suddenly collapsed overnight. It took them a very long time to recover. We could argue they're still recovering. Japan, also lost decade. We could argue it's been lost decades. Very low quality of life, very low standard of living. The people are, in terms of measuring happiness, are not very happy. They're overworked. A lot of them work, through Saturdays, maybe even Sunday, and they're working until midnight. We've seen this in Latin America with the Latin American currency crisis. We've also seen this with the crisis in Mexico, with the Mexican peso. Let me show you the specific example here. This is the Venezuelan president. Turn this camera around so I can see. Venezuelan president tries out new emergency powers. Basically what's happening in Venezuela, they're experiencing hyperinflation. So they're putting in price controls to prevent, or at least to try to help the average citizen buy goods and services. Now, in my opinion, this is what's going to happen in America. Now, it might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next year, but at some point it's going to happen. Nobody can predict that. I can't certainly predict that. You can't predict that. But we know, as a basis of historical fact, this is the direction we're headed. Prices will skyrocket, the economy will crash, and economically there will be chaos. It's one of the reasons I believe personally, that the government has heavily infiltrated the cryptocurrency market. Now, look, don't take my word for it. Go investigate this stuff for yourself. Peter Thiel, I'm highly learned in these areas. Peter Thiel, the PayPal founder, the PayPal mafia, multi-billionaire, really smart guy. He's also libertarian, by the way, and he's funded major portions of Ron Paul's campaign for liberty. But there's some sketchy areas about him, and I actually know some people that know him personally. Got a little bit of an inside track. I won't really give my leak or my source. But I know offhand, for example, that he helped to develop PRISM, which was the leak that Edward Snowden broke to the American public with all this spying and this control system and looking at our emails. He helped to develop that software through one of his startup companies called Palantir, Palantir. Go check it out for yourself. Do the homework. He's also a major investor in Bitcoin. Isn't that interesting? So he's connected to the NSA, he's connected to PRISM, connected to Ron Paul too. Isn't that interesting? Oh yeah, I was one of the first people to actually talk about that several years ago. And so this is what we're seeing with the cryptocurrency war. Don't think for a minute that the federal government isn't involved. Don't think for a minute they don't have their hand in this cryptocurrency war. You got to be dumb. You got to be an idiot. I don't care if it was legitimately started or not. In-Q-Tel, the investment arm of the CIA, invests in dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of companies. You can check out their website. This is an arm of the CIA. So to think that they're not involved in this, again, don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. This is all connected with big tech. This is all connected with the Orwellian police state for what it is today. Social media, the Google giants of the world, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Pinterests, etc. I've ranted and raved about this numerous times. You can check out our video here that I just put out, New World Order, America Collapse. Kind of a fun video. I enjoyed shooting it. Gives you some background and history, some of the topics I'm talking about. But back to what's happening in Venezuela here, and I'm reading. I want to see if you can get this on camera here. It says Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro exercised new emergency powers for the first time Thursday, signing decrees limiting business profit margins and tightening regulation of imports. He's acted as part of a so-called economic war against a crisis for which he blames the opposition bourgeoisie and imperialism. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Blame the bourgeoisie. It's the same thing the Americans do here. They blame capitalism when capitalism is the enemy. Crony capitalism is the enemy. Criminal capitalism is the enemy. Bank bailouts are the enemy. The Federal Reserve is the enemy. Printing currency into infinity when it has no basis in value and isn't backed by anything is a Ponzi scheme. When you loan that money out to millions of Americans and you indoctrinate them into that Ponzi scheme and then you rip them off and therefore lower their standard of living, that's wrong. Just like the people in Venezuela are suffering as a result of hyperinflation. Here in the United States, we're suffering as a result of bailouts and inflation. You just can't see it because they built it around an illusion. This is what bailouts are. This is what the system is. This is what buying $1 trillion in mortgage-backed assets is annually. This is what 0% interest rates is. So you might not be able to see it at face value, but we are currently blowing up a bigger bubble than we've ever seen. And it's going to result, just like it's resulted time and time again throughout history, nation after nation, country after country, through the ages. We're going to look just like Venezuela, where they're going to be scrambling to implement price controls. The people will panic. The groundlings won't be too concerned about what's going on at Best Buy for the day. They won't be worried about that. They'll be looking to their leader. They'll be looking to the president, the savior. Here he is, Mr. Maduro, saving the people out of the goodness of his heart. What do you think? How much more time do we have left?